Good morning, all, and I would like to call this meeting to order of ACW Council and welcome all members of Council that are joining us both in person and virtually this morning, to all members of our staff that will provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interest of the Corporation of ACW and our residents, to all members of the public that are joining us this morning, and also the media. Meetings of council are live streamed on the Township's official website in accordance with the live streaming and virtual participation of meetings policy. By attending this meeting, attendees and participants are consenting to their image, voice, and comments being recorded and available for public viewing on the Township's website. Do any members of Council have a pecuniary interest or potential conflict of interest of any agenda item that we have today? Seeing none, I thank you for that. We do have the March 5th Council meeting minutes for adoption, and I will entertain a mover and a seconder for these. Councillor Miltenberg and Councillor Hickey seconds that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adopts the March 5th, 2024 Council meeting minutes as written. Are there any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Open forum is an opportunity for any members of the public to make any comments that they would like to at this time regarding any agenda items from 5.1 on. Is there any members of the public that would like to make any comments at this time? And seeing none, it is a pleasure to welcome Rachel White to be with us this morning to present to us on the natural heritage. Rachel is a biologist with the County of Huron, and it was our invitation to Rachel to join us this morning. So with the latitude of Council, the 10-minute delegation limit would be lifted for Rachel this morning. So we look forward to your presentation to us, Rachel.
Thank you very much. Excuse me, you'll have to bear with me as I make sure that I'm sharing my screen appropriately. So just from a logistical issue, would I need to turn on my my Zoom audio for the people here to hear, or can they hear through?
They can hear through your, so I would turn your on your Zoom, just
everything's muted.
Everything's muted on Zoom. Beautiful. Perfect.
Okay, I'll get there. Okay. Okay, I see what I'm doing wrong. Here we go.
Take your time.
Thank you. Okay.
Perfect. That looks great.
I might, see if I can maximize. Haha. Here we are. Okay, thank you. Well, I'm tall. Thank you very much for the invitation to come today. So, as was mentioned, my name is Rachel White. I see some familiar faces in the room, but there are some people I haven't yet met. So, welcome, or thank you for the warm welcome. And so I work as the county's biologist. And today I want to talk with you about a stewardship update. So talk a little bit about my role as the biologist and the projects that I'm involved with related to stewardship in the county. So I am part of the county's environmental team, which is made up of a forester, Dave Pullen, and Derry Wallace, the climate change specialist. So we have several collaborative projects together, including right now we're working on an invasive species management plan for Huron County owned properties, as well as a natural asset valuation of Huron County's natural assets. I also help to coordinate the Water Protection Steering Committee. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting where we discussed we heard presentations about the changing ecology of Huron County. I also help administer the Huron Clean Water Project on behalf of the county, working alongside the conservation authorities. It's also part of my role to review planning applications with respect to the natural environment. So first, I want to start off with my favorite part of this topic, which is gushing about how cool the natural environment is in ACW. So ACW has really interesting communities of plants and animals. I'll just talk a little bit about some of the highlights. So for instance, the Lower Maitland River has a really interesting ecosystem and is home to some animals that are relatively abundant in the Maitland River, but rare relative to other places in the province. And one example of that is the endangered queen snake, which you can see on the middle left. Also, there are, for instance, breeding populations of bald eagles, green dragons, which has arguably the coolest name of any of the plants in Huron County. Also interesting other rare reptiles, and then one of the most endangered plants in Canada called hairy valerian. So there are other really interesting natural areas in ACW, including the Morris Tract, which is home to possibly the oldest trees in Huron County, which is very interesting, and then also the Saratoga Swamp. So it is the good stewardship of past generations that have maintained these very interesting, diverse natural areas. So there are many benefits to maintaining resilient natural cover in order to support a productive agricultural landscape. Other benefits are environments with balance between natural environment and a working landscape is more resilient to changes in the environment. Natural areas slow down water on the landscape and capture sediments and nutrients, assist with flood attenuation, cleans the air, provides habitat for plants and animals, and then of course like benefits for recreation, including supporting the economy through tourism, but also, you know, many of us learned or were reminded of the importance of being outside in the pandemic when people were revisiting natural areas, and then we've seen that people are keeping up those habits post-pandemic. So there are many wonderful stewards in ACW, and many projects have been completed with the support of the Huron Clean Water Project. So the Huron Clean Water Project is a cost share funding program that supports landowners to do stewardship work on their properties. So as of fall of last year, more than 653 projects had been completed in ACW of approximately 3,800 projects. So the map that you're seeing on this slide is a map showing the distribution of where projects have been completed in ACW. So you can see that the projects are sort of fairly uniformly distributed across the landscape. The darker boxes have multiple projects. So the darker the box, the more number of projects there are. So a lot of really great stewardship work in ACW. So here are some of the examples of the categories that are supported in the Huron Clean Water Project that also help to create resilient landscapes like in natural areas. So for instance, tree planting, wetland creation, erosion control measures, clean water diversion, decommissioning unused wells and manure storages, forest management plans, and then cover crops. This year, I'm happy to report that the Huron Clean Water Project is celebrating 20 years, and there's been huge accomplishments for that project, and hats goes off to the landowners who have done really great stewardship work through that program. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about the diversity and value of natural areas in ACW and the good stewardship work that has supported those areas and enhanced and maintained them. In general, there is no one tool that's most effective at creating like a resilient landscape. And what I mean by a resilient landscape is maintaining like diverse, resilient natural cover that supports productive agriculture. So here are some examples of many tools that we use to try to maintain natural cover in Huron County. So one example is proactive outreach. So for instance, the Huron-Perth chapter of the Ontario Woodlot Association is the largest in this area relative to the rest of the province. Also, extension services, so working proactively with landowners, for instance, to promote good forestry practices. Huron County also has incentive programs like Huron Clean Water Project. So it's my opinion that the most effective approaches are proactive approaches through these first two. But there are also other tools. So for instance, the Forest Conservation Bylaw and Shoreline Preservation Bylaw. And Dave Pullen, who was here about a month ago, would have spoken to those, so I won't dwell on those. But also land use planning policies play a role in maintaining natural cover. So I'll get a little bit into that. So there are, as many are familiar, there are policies that protect the natural environment. So we have the provincial policy statement, which was introduced in 1996. The most recent provincial policy statement was released in 2020. There are also the Conservation Authority regulations and then municipal policies. So I want to talk a little bit about how I'm involved. So when someone proposes a land use change that warrants a planning application, I get folded into the process if the development is planned within or near natural environment. So the policies from the province and at the local level direct development away from natural environments. So a development that is proposed within or near natural environments will have to demonstrate that they've met the policies. And the tests for natural environment policies is, would the development result in no negative impact to the natural features or their functions? So these are the natural features that are protected under the natural environment policies that are the responsibility of the municipalities to uphold. So that's wetlands, shoreline areas, woodlands, valley lands, and wildlife habitat. So if through the initial stages of the planning process, through the consultation process, it's identified that it's likely that the development would possibly have a negative impact on the natural environment, then that would trigger an environmental impact study. So the purpose of the environmental impact study is to direct the design of planning or of an application and its configuration so that it has no negative impact on the natural environment. And it would also propose offsets or compensation or mitigation measures that would mitigate for impacts that would be unavoidable. So the need for an EIS is identified at the consultation stage. The work, so field work and report writing, is completed by a consultant. And then that work is reviewed by myself or a peer reviewer. So the cost of the study as well as the review, either by me for a fee-for-service basis or by the peer reviewer, is borne by the applicant. So I've explained a little bit about my role as the biologist, and I also want to thank you for the invitation to speak today. So all the tools that I have talked about are important, and I mentioned before that supporting and promoting good stewardship, I think, is the most effective to contribute to a thriving, productive landscape. Increasing agricultural productivity while preserving natural areas is very important. And we all benefit from the good work of the past generations. And it's my belief that it's our responsibility to be good stewards for future generations as well. And that's all I have for you today.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Rachel. And as you commented, stewardship is very, very important to this council and our municipality. Jennifer, Councillor Miltenberg, a question or comment, please.
Both. Excellent presentation. I do have 3 questions for you. And they're minor. Well, 2 of them are. Review by a peer reviewer. What does that even mean? What's a peer reviewer?
That's a good question. So typically it's another consulting firm the work is done by a consulting firm. It would be a separate consulting firm that would review the technical parts of the application, excuse me, on behalf of the county.
So that would be if you're too busy for it. Is that right? Or
it's more often like, if you think about, it's more related to the complexity of the application. So for instance, a peer reviewer would have a team of people who had specific expertise that would all contribute to the review, as opposed to I have to know the limits of my expertise in terms of, I can speak to these things, but if it's, out of my wheelhouse, then that's when it's appropriate to have a peer reviewer.
Okay, thanks. My second question about the abundant snake that's rare in the rest of the province. You said a queen snake? Is that what it
Queen
is?
snake, yeah.
It's not poisonous, is it?
No,
Oh, great, because I catch snakes all the time and I'm like, uh-oh, is there a poisonous one out there?
not in Huron County, but I can tell you where queen snakes live, just in case, like, maybe you've encountered them. So they look a little bit like garter snakes, and they're the only snake in Ontario that has stripes on its belly.
I've caught one before.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe. Okay, I also should say that I wasn't fond of snakes when I started this job, but actually queen snakes made me fond of snakes. So that says a lot.
I catch and release, okay?
Yeah.
Pet them and let them go.
And they're right along the shoreline of the Maitland River, like often only within 3 meters into the water or into the land.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And my final question is more overreaching, where you talk about proactive and good stewardship, and you work with, I think, Dave and Derry on invasive species and a role for the county. So my question is, we all know, if you're a farmer, it spreads from other places. So is a part of that plan for private owners, or is there an education piece, or can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're drafting the plan, and part of our goals for the plan is to provide credible information for anyone in Huron County. So the plan includes like practical management tools. And then there will be a second, so we'll have this fairly detailed technical document that will be available to the public. And then we'll be making some materials that we'd be able to share with landowners in order to inform their management.
Just one final follow-up. Is there a time frame for that?
Actually, the work should be completed. The initial draft should be completed within the next month, and
Awesome.
then the rollout will be soon after.
Right.
I also might just also mention that there are Huron Clean Water Project categories that assist with costs related to controlling invasive species such as Phragmites.
Is that available to nonprofit groups as well?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
And that would be through the Forest Management Plan and Woodlot Enhancement category.
thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much for the questions and the comments. Any further comments or questions of council? If not, thank you very much, Rachel, for presenting to us today, and congratulations and thank you for the great work that you do on behalf of the county and the residents of ACW.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, I would like to address item 6.1, and that is through the Treasury Department, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the current accounts, please. That is moved by Deputy Mayor Vanstone, seconded by Councillor Snoblin, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby authorizes the payments of the March 2024 accounts as presented. Do we have any questions on these numbers? And I'll first go to Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I did write it down. Page 5, there's a cost for inspecting the elevator, and I'm at Ben Miller Hall. Is that, my question is that yearly?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I'll defer to our staff and our CAO, please.
Yep, that's the first year of the 3-year contract. That's correct.
All I can say is that's a lot of money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Next, thanks, Rachel. Next question will be from Councillor Snoblin, please, your comment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe it's on page, oh shoot, I believe it's page 9. Yes, page 9. There is 2 expenses. It looks like for some heavy equipment repairs. Both companies are from out of town. One is in the amount of around 11,000 and the other one is in the amount of 88,000. I just wondered if, I guess because we just did the budget, I wondered if there is something that we should have looked at closer in the budget in terms of new equipment, or is this just repairs? Or I don't know much about heavy equipment.
Okay, thank you for the question. I'll defer to our Public Works Superintendent, Tom McCarthy, please, Tom.
So the big expense is replacement of engine for AM3, so that would have been brought to council back in December or so. So we took it up to Owen Sound to have the engine replaced, and while that was out, we had work on the clutch, and there was a hole in the radiator discovered while we were there. All of these things are extremely expensive. I realize it's a lot of money. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. A follow-up, Councillor Snowden, please.
Yes, follow up. So when in the replacement cycle is this piece of equipment due for replacement then, please, Tom?
Thank you. Tom, please.
Unfortunately, the vehicle's about 10 years old, and we're hoping to keep it for an additional 10 years. So when we were looking at the $400,000 for purchasing a new vehicle, the thinking was that replacing the engine, if you could get another 10 years out of it, financially made sense.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, Councillor Snowden.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. And you answered my next question was how much is a new one? So quite a bit of money, but I appreciate your investigation and thorough review of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions on any of these numbers? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is approved. Thank you very much. For 6.2, it is the payment of the previous month's actual accounts, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Forrester and Hickey moves and seconded. Are there any questions on these numbers? And if not, the motion moved and seconded is that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby approves a payment of the February 2024 accounts in the amount of $1,235,900.48. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.3 is a summary revenue/expenditure reports. A mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Snowden, Deputy Mayor Vanstone, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council adopt the summary revenue/expenditure reports as written for the Township, Lucknow and District Medical Center, and Lucknow and District Recreation from January to February of 2024. Are there any questions on any of these numbers? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We do not have anything under planning today. Deputy Mayor Vanstone?
I have a question, and I don't know whether you wanted me to bring it up now or down later. When will the mapping for the planning be coming back, or have we heard that?
Thanks for the question. I'll defer to our clerk, please.
The April planning meeting is when it's planned to come back. So that is April 9th.
April 9th, thank you.
Okay. All right. We will now move to 8.1. That is the Chief Building Officials Report. It has been circulated. Brett is here to respond to any questions the council may have, and that is for information purposes. Any questions? Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Just my yearly check-in. You got enough help over there? Are you overwhelmed? Are you catching up? Are you flourishing or languishing?
Okay, Brett, please.
Hopefully we'll find somebody to help out with the septic inspection program.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments on this report? Seeing none. 9.1 is the customer service standards, and it has been provided to council on a request that staff bring back a draft customer service standards and the handling of unreasonable customer behavior policy, as well as the formal complaints policy, to a future meeting for adoption. Is there any questions or comments on this? Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just trying to make my iPad work. It's in my head anyway. I thought it was an excellent policy. I'm hoping that some of the items were put in an excess of caution and that our staff hasn't actually experienced all of them, because we certainly need to protect our staff. I do have a question about oversight and appeal process. So this is an internal where the staff, it's to prevent staff bullying from what I can understand, and to give, also to give good customer service. Is there a avenue for someone who feels they have been unjustly, or is the mayor going to be an oversight, or is this entirely staff?
Okay, Thanks for the question. I'll defer to our staff for a response, please.
You'll have to forgive me, Jennifer. I just have to look at it for a second. It's been a couple of weeks since I've submitted this, so I'm just going to.
Maybe
Actually, Mark, if you wanted to answer that.
Counselor Miltenberg can you focus on which policy we're talking about and what particular section? Sorry, there's 3 policies here and I'm trying to find what section you're referring to.
Well, I don't think it's a specific, it's the overview. I like the policies. I like every policy. I'm wondering, is there an appeal site or is there any involvement from, say, the mayor on this?
Okay, clerk, please.
So just going through it, we didn't put anything in there specifically, but like with any policy that council adopts, when there is, the policies kind of live and they breathe and they kind of move along with the issues that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And then when council hears that things aren't working properly, it seems to come back to the council table. So I would almost suggest that by virtue of being a council policy, it kind of comes back to council if it came to it. So Mark has a comment here.
Okay, thank you. CAO, please.
So under the formal complaint policy, if you look at section, it's just before section 5, it says further measures. If the customer is not satisfied with the outcome, they may proceed a complaint to the Interior Ombudsman. Mm-hmm.
Oh, the ombudsman. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any further questions on this? And if not, I'll entertain a show of hands if we're in support of this policy. And that is supported by council. Thank you very much, and thank you for this report. 9.2 is the bylaw enforcement report for information of council. Do we have any questions on this? And if not, the water report under number 10 is 10.1 specifically. This has been prepared for us. And I would entertain a show of hands if we're in support of this, and we'll adopt this in section 18 as a bylaw. And that is supported by council. Thank you. Yeah, Deputy Mayor, please.
Yeah, I have a question. The Ola Water also looks after the purification plant at Ben Miller, and I noticed that there's been some costs incurred down there. Is that a problem? I guess I'm asking the staff. Is that it's an older plant, so I'm just worried about the longevity of it.
Okay, thank you for the question. CAO, please.
Through Mayor, I think we're talking about the water system. We're not talking about another system, so I'd like to stick with the agenda, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. We don't have anything under drainage or public works department. Council committee reports. Do any members of council have any reports that they would like to share? At this time, I will go first to Councillor Forrester and then Councillor Miltenberg.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. So on March 11th, I attended doctor recruitment. So the Teeswater Clinic, everything's done there and it's up and running and they're very happy with it. So as for the practice ready that I talked about last time I attended one of their meetings, they have possibly, they're very optimistic that they'll get one doctor out of this. And another doctor is thinking of coming to Wingham too, and a new surgeon from Nunavut actually is coming as a local, and that was supposed to happen last week. So the fees for the municipalities are not going up this year, and I found this, I guess this may be in the future, like Listowel's thinking of hiring a doctor virtually, and apparently a nurse comes into the room and does whatever he tells her or the nurse to do. And I thought that's odd, but maybe that's the future. So that's it for that meeting. And then on Wednesday, I attended CHIP committee, and they had Constable Dave Duncan there. So the town of Goderich did a traffic calming project. So if there is enough complaints, the OPP go in and put up a armadillo, which is a camera or whatever. And then in order for this to work, there has to be 500 cars travel that road per day. And they found the most effective way to slow down cars is speed bumps. And they're just temporary. They take them out in the wintertime because of plows and stuff, but maybe that's something we need to look into. But he said another effective way is just to put up a speed camera, which we have. And I don't know if we do this, but here in East charges farmers for dragging mud onto the road, like when they're harvesting crops and stuff. But as long as the farmer doesn't take it off. And there's a horse and buggy guide coming out on MTO in the near future. And one of the questions I asked about this is there a legal age for a horse and buggy driver? And they said no. So I've seen lots of young kids driving them. So that's about all I have to report on. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Forrester, for that. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, just a real brief one. Myself, the mayor, and Evan had an ECDev committee meeting. And you'll see in the minutes further on that we had talked about possibly looking towards the SLED funding. We had a very robust, very long conversation about it. In fact, we're having another additional meeting about it. I'm quite happy with the direction and what's going on with that committee. So there'll be a lot more minutes coming up, but we are working quite diligently.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And I think that Councillor Hickey would also concur that we're really making strides in that. Councillor Snowblin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee that I sit on, we are about to launch the second campaign, which is the domestic and family violence prevention pillar. There will be a press release held on March 25th, that's Monday at 1 p.m. in the Goderich Town Hall. All council are invited to attend, although not obligatory. I did share it with the mayor on that invitation. And this will be the second of 4 priorities that the committee has identified. And we will run this for approximately 3 months, this campaign. And there will be lots of materials, sent to us that we will be able to share through social media and our website at ACW. That's it.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Snowblin. Thank you for that email out for this. Anything additional? Okay, I thank you very much for that. Does anyone have anything under new business that they would like to bring forward at this time for a future meeting? Deputy Mayor Vanstone, please.
Yes, at our budget meeting, I was asked to bring back to create a policy for the money for the Christmas party. And I'd like to have that brought back to another meeting if I could, please, and thank you.
Okay, any comments from council? Councillor Miltenberg?
Don't we have a policy already? We don't have a policy.
CAO, please.
Are we talking about the Employee Appreciation and Engagement Committee? Is that what we're talking about? Sorry.
I don't know if it's a committee. It's $6,000 that's been earmarked towards the whatever, it used to be a Christmas party, but now it's a whatever you guys do with it thing. So, but it's just the money, and there's been no policy created as to how or where it goes.
CAO, please.
Yeah, if council recall, back in July of 2023, we brought back a report what the team building events would be and how the Employee Appreciation Engagement Committee would be set up. There was an update also in November with respect to the update, what was going on. So I'll let council decide if they want staff to bring something back. I'm not sure what we're looking for, but we can bring those 2 reports back to council if they want a refresher.
I guess, Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, the only thing and I brought that up before, is that I'm in favor of them having this money, but I don't want it to happen on a work day. It should happen like our Christmas party was always on a Saturday or when everybody can go there. So, and if we do have it on a work day, that takes it from 6,000 to probably 20,000 because there's a lot of people and a lot of wages that are absorbed into that. So anyways, that's my feelings on it. Thank you.
Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Well, I vehemently disagree with Bill, so I guess if that needs to be part of a policy, it should come back. I don't know, but I don't agree with any of the statements he just made, so I don't know where to go from there.
CAO, and then I'll staff, and then I'll
Through the mayor, you just need to get consent from council if you want this brought back. We're not here to debate it today. This is just information if you want staff to bring something back or not. So it's either yes or no.
Okay, with that, is council in support of pursuing this? A show of hands if you are. 3 opposed. The motion fails. Okay, thank you for that. Is there anything additionally under new business for a future meeting? Seeing none, I thank you. As far as correspondence for direction, we have an opportunity to participate in the Huron County Federation of Agriculture MP and MPP Local Politicians Forum. I believe it is on the 5th of April, 2024, usually at Holmesville. I'm just looking, I don't see a location. Sometimes it's at the Legion, sometimes it's the Holmesville, and we can confirm that. Is there anyone from council who'd like to attend? Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, I've gone in the past and I think it's excellent, both as a farmer and on the ECDev committee. And it says there it's in the Clinton Legion this year.
Okay, perfect. Clinton Legion, thank you very much
So
for
I'd
that.
be interested in attending.
Okay, Councillor Miltenberg and Councillor Vanstone, we are eligible to send 2 individuals. I can go from the county standpoint. So those would be the 2 individuals that will be attending. If council is good with that, on behalf of ACW. Okay, thank you. Correspondence for information. We've all received the invitation under 16.1 to the Lakeshore United Church. Anyone is welcome to attend that, and it would be my intent to attend that occasion. We also have the notice under 16.2 of Jeff Bradley being appointed as the new Huron-Kinloss Fire Chief that will also serve the Lucknow Fire Board. And we have the Economic Development Committee minutes. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Just out of curiosity, if I could ask somebody who's on the fire board, like, was it about the process? He appears to have come from somewhere else, and was there an application process, or was there a lot of whatevers, or did Huron-Kinloss do that?
Okay, thank you very much for that, and I will defer to our CAO, please.
So this is a Huron-Kinloss employee. So they're no different than ACW. We hire the facility manager and things like that. We look after the arena and they look after the fire. So that's a HK. It's an HK employee because it's also the Ripley Fire Department chief as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for that. Upcoming business is the AMO training, Navigating Conflict 2.0. Councillor Miltenberg is registered for that on the 9th and 10th of April. And the AMO conference is held on the 18th to the 21st in Ottawa. Councillor Miltenberg is also registered for that. And I would go around the room, if it's okay with everyone, for the bylaws, starting with bylaw 18.1. That would be moved by Deputy Mayor Vanstone, seconded by Councillor Snoblin, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 19, 2024, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service agreement between Veolia Water Canada Inc. and the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and that it now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally pass this 19th day of March 2024. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. We do not have a closed session today. So the confirmatory bylaw would be moved by Councillor Hickey, seconded by Councillor Snoblin, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 20-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh meeting held on March 19th, 2024, and that it now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally pass this 19th day of March 2024. All in favor of the motion? That is carried. And a motion to adjourn would be moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Miltenberg, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council does now adjourn to meet again on April 2nd, 2024 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the mayor. All in favor of this motion? And that is, again, is carried. And thank you very much to all of council for your comments, thoughts, and to our staff. Thank you very much.
Have a good day, everybody.